Hey everybody, it's Mike over at Taxes and Bricks. Well, fasten your seatbelts because today we're talking about cars, not just any cars. We are talking about electric vehicles, EVs, all the rage these days. From Tesla to BMW to Porsche to Kia to Hyundai to pretty much every manufacturer's got one now. And prior to August 17th of 2022, it was like the Wild West. You know, you make $1 million and go out and buy yourself a Tesla or an electric Bentley or whatever. And provided the car was on an approved list by the Department of Energy, you got up to a $7,500 credit. And it was great. I had a ton of clients who were doing that. It was awesome. Yeah, the getting was good. Not so much anymore. Why August 17th of 2022? That was the day that they passed what is called the Inflation Reduction Act. And we won't get into why I think that name is stupid. It's not for why people are saying on television that it's a stupid name. I think the Inflation Reduction Act, also called the IRA, is a stupid name because its initials are IRA. And there's already enough confusing crap in the tax code for us to name an act after a retirement account and make them the same, so when we're having a conversation and I go, oh, IRA, people go, wait, Inflation Reduction Act or IRA as in Roth? So, bad on the government, but whatever. Hey, can't fix it. Nothing I can do. I'm just going to say Inflation Reduction Act instead of IRA so that I won't get confused in my own crazy little addled brain. So, the Inflation Reduction Act did many things. One of the things it did was it tinkered around with the electric vehicle credit, okay? So, again, I said prior to August 17th of 2022, it doesn't matter how much money you made, and so long as the car, the manufacturer hadn't reached a certain cap, which I think was like 200,000 vehicles sold, you were golden. You got a credit, and there was a nice handy little website and everything where you could go and you can say, oh, I'm going to buy a, RAV4 Prime, or I'm going to buy a Volvo cross country, electric vehicle, and you could see it and be like, oh yeah, this is the credit, and you put it on your tax return and everything was great. And not so much anymore. And in grand fashion, it couldn't have gone, hey, through the end of the year, don't worry about it, and then we'll put it in effect January 1st. It had to go into effect in August 17th. So that became problematic. And the rules from August 17th until December 31st are different than the rules from January 1st, 2023 on. Okay, so we're going to go through some of these. And I just say, at the end of the day, stay tuned, because I think they're going to change some of these rules and regulations. And if they change things with any level of significance, I will flash back in later on, a month, 7 months from now, whatever it is. So I've got some notes here. I'm going to run through them. So basically, effective immediately, as in August 17th of 2022, okay, only electric vehicles that are assembled in North America qualify for the $7,500 clean vehicle credit. And that's what they're calling it now, clean vehicle credit, not electric vehicle credit or alternative fuel credit or whatever. Clean vehicle credit, okay? That's problematic because there aren't a lot of cars that were on the list that are assembled in North America. So the list went from like, boom, to like, ee. So you got like Ford, and not all Fords, but some Fords, Rivian, which good luck getting one of those because they're like delivering like 7 of them a week or something. I don't know. Tesla, for the most part, and a few other manufacturers. Some, I think a couple of Volvos, a few BMWs are manufactured here. There's a list, Department of Energy, of all of the cars that now qualify, and it's not a very long and distinguished. Well, it's a distinguished list, not a very long list. So, all right. As of December 31st of 2022, the cap on manufacturers is lifted. So before, for the last couple of years, Tesla, they'd sold a bajillion cars, and the government was like, yeah, no, No more. We're not giving out this credit to people who buy Teslas after a certain date. And that was true all through the end of 2022. So if you bought a Tesla in, say, October or November or December, you still couldn't get the credit. But January 1st, the credit is back for Tesla. It's back for General Motors. Okay? There was this controversy, and we'll get back into the details here, about people who like ordered a car or put a deposit on a car prior to August 17th, and their car wasn't going to be ready until the fall or ready until, say, the spring of 2023 or even later. Rivian was one. And what the government said was if you signed a binding written contract committing to purchase the vehicle, so you didn't just put down a refundable deposit that you could get back and like maybe you buy the car when it's ready and maybe you don't. You actually were like, okay, hey, Rivian, hey, Tesla, hey, whoever, I will buy this car from you. Here is my signature. If I don't buy this car from you, you may take sanctions against me, whatever a contract says. They were accepting that as if the purchase took place, at least on paper, prior to August 16th. So you would have been under the old rules, but you still couldn't take the credit until you got the car, which could be 2023 or, I don't know, maybe 2024. Who knows, depending on, how long your waiting list was for your particular manufacturer. Okay. Battery capacity became an issue in terms of this whole binding written contract factor. I'm not really quite sure how that became a factor, but maybe it had something to do with the fact that in some of these cases they were changing the battery capacity. I don't really understand that, but the IRS basically said that with these binding written contracts, you needed to take into account battery capacity. I don't really understand that, because if the car qualifies under one, it still qualifies under the other for battery capacity and kilowatt hours and whatever it is that they measure it in. So I'm going to leave that one alone. All right. The Department of Energy has a list of what qualifies, and that list is the smaller list qualifies from like August 17th of 2022 to December 31st of 2022. But after December 31st, if you purchased a car, say January 1st, January 2nd, January 3rd, there's no actual list really anymore. You have to run your VIN number, okay, to figure out if it qualifies, because that's going to tell you whether or not your particular vehicle was manufactured in the United States, et cetera, okay? And that they're doing a pretty good job tracking the final assembly using VIN codes. And so that's why they're amping up enforcement on this. And we'll get into the compliance issues at a later date in terms of what the Treasury Inspector General has kind of discovered in terms of the level of possible fraud and malfeasance and why they're going this route with running your VIN numbers and things like that. Okay. A couple of other facts that I think are important to note. Vehicles that were built, and we kind of mentioned this before, by manufacturers that exceeded 200,000 units previously were excluded from this. That cap of 200,000 is listed. It was lifted, rather, not listed. It's lifted now, effective January 1st, 2023. So all manufacturers, regardless of how much they sell, okay? The Inflation Reduction Act put into place cost limits for these vehicles. So if your vehicle for an SUV or a truck was more than $80,000 and you purchased it, okay, and now under the new law, not the old school law, the old school any car qualified, $80,000 for SUVs and trucks or more, you don't get the credit. $55,000 for passenger cars, you don't get the credit. So this is going to kind of edge out a lot of very expensive luxury electric vehicles that may qualify based on where they were manufactured, but are no longer going to qualify because the cost of the vehicle is too high. So think about, that Hummer that they made, that electric Humvee that they made, which I think is well over $100 and something thousand at this point. And if you were to purchase that, even if the vehicle was manufactured 100% in the United States or North America, which I guess includes Mexico and Canada, you're not going to get the credit. Okay, no dice because the vehicle costs more than $80,000. A Tesla Model S or Model X or something like that probably not going to qualify because I think brand new those things are over $80,000. Okay, or over $55,000 for the Model S, which is a car. Also, something the Inflation Reduction Act did was that effective after 2022. So up and until December 31st, this doesn't apply. But January 1st, 2023 or later, if you buy an electric vehicle and the vehicle itself qualifies, you may not because your income may be too high. Single individuals with an adjusted gross income over $150,000 may not get this credit. $200,000 if you're head of household, $300,000 if you're married filing joint. So, does this apply to everybody? No, but ultimately, I mean, mostly these cars are being purchased, I think, in general, by people who make quite a bit of money. And I think that this was sort of between the caps on the cost of the vehicle and income thresholds. I think we're going to edge out a lot of wealthy people, which is not a big deal. I mean, whatever. But it's going to edge out a lot of wealthier people or maybe even upper middle class people who are wanting to purchase a vehicle like this but can't get the credit. And so I think a lot of people that were prior to this law going into effect going to get the credit regardless of the car that they purchased, so long as it hadn't reached any types of caps or anything like that. They're now going to find that they can't get this tax credit, and that's kind of crappy, but whatever. Okay. Something else that the Inflation Reduction Act did, which I think is good, is it added a credit, albeit a smaller one, for the purchase of a qualified used electric vehicle. Now, let's talk about this, though, because I know what you're thinking, like, oh, my friend's got, an EV and he wants to trade up. Let me just buy his from him and I'll get a tax credit. No. This has got to be purchased from a dealership. A qualified dealership. You can't buy it from your buddy up the street or on Craigslist or, Auto Trader from a private party. It's got to be a dealer sale. Okay? Also, there are limits on the credits. So it's 30% of the purchase price not to exceed $4,000. Okay? So you can get 30% or $4,000, whatever's lower. All right? There are also adjusted gross income limits for this too. Single, $75,000. Head of household, $112,500. Married filing joint, $150,000. So if you make as a single person $90,000 and you go buy a used EV, you're not going to get this credit. Okay. There's some good articles out there. I encourage you to look if you're looking in the used EV market. There are not a ton of used EVs out there. I think it seems like most people get them and hang on to them. I've got a couple of friends and family members who've got EVs and have had them for years. And these are people that would usually go through cars every couple of years, and they seem to be keeping them. So there's that. Let's talk a little bit about the compliance side of things and what's going on with the IRS in that regard. And then we're going to talk a little bit about, I'm just going to run through some of the features and tell you, okay, in the 3 phases, pre-17th of August 2022, between August 17th and December 31st, 2022, and then after December 31st, 2022, aka 2023 and beyond, what's going to qualify here and what isn't and what the changes are. And I've got a really good kind of little, kind of run through on that. So the Treasury Inspector General for Tax, they anticipated, or rather figured out, that there were approximately $81 million in undue credits given out to taxpayers claiming a plug-in electric car credit, which is odd, but not surprising. And so they're putting in more strict criteria in order to give out this credit. So, for example, you're going to put your VIN number in now, okay? And they're actually going to chart it. It's going to be a lot easier for them moving forward, too, because there are far less vehicles that are going to qualify. It's no longer, say, 1 million vehicles now that qualify. Maybe now it's 300,000 vehicles. It's going to be a lot easier for them to track on all of this stuff. They are also going to be relying on automated computer systems to figure all of this out and deal with compliance. They supposedly, I think in 2021, or maybe it was 2020, gave out about 240,000 of these credits. and they say wholly about 7% were over claimed. So people saying the credit, their vehicle was entitled to a $7,500 credit when really maybe it was only $3,500. They didn't have a very good tracking system in place. So they're really cracking down on this. Couple that with the fact that they've got more money in their budget now, which is never a good thing. But they've got more money in their budget now. They are going to be kind of cracking down on this. So just be advised, if you're going to purchase an EV, make sure your ducks are in a row here. Okay. Now, let's run through a couple of things here. I've got it all kind of written out in front of me, and I'm just going to run through. So that manufacturer sales cap we talked about, where once a vehicle manufacturer reached 200,000 vehicles, they weren't allowed, nobody was allowed to get a credit for any of their vehicles after that. For anything purchased prior to the 17th of August, 2022, that applies. Anything between August 17th, 2022 and December 31st, 2022 also applies. So like Tesla and GM, still no good. Some Toyotas, I think, no good for the last 4 months of the year. Okay, 2022. But after 2022, so January 1st, 2023, no cap on manufacturers sold units. So Tesla's back, GM's back, everybody's back. It's great. Okay. Final assembly of the vehicle in North America. Okay. Pre-August 17th, 2022, didn't matter. Car could have been assembled on the moon. Nobody cared. Okay. From August 17th of 2022 until December 31st of 2022, it does have to be assembled in North America. Okay? So the same car that qualified the first 8 months of the year isn't going to qualify in the last month of this year if it wasn't assembled in North America. And then after January 1st, 2023, everything's got to be assembled in North America. Okay? Income limits for the purchaser. Okay? Just to save time, instead of having to run through the dates again, we're just going to say like pre-August 17th of 2022. We're just going to call that like old school credit, and we're going to call it like medium school credit for between August and December, and then from December on into 2023. So old school credit, there was no income threshold. Okay, there's no income threshold in the sort of medium school either between August and December, and then after January 1st, there's now an income threshold. Okay, for AGI to get the credit. Price caps on the cost of your electric vehicle. No, yes. Okay, the cost of the car doesn't matter. Okay, up and until December 31st of 2022. So it doesn't matter when you bought it, as long as you bought it before December 31st, 2022. January 1st, 2023 and beyond, the price of the car does matter. Remember, that's $80,000 for an SUV, truck, van, or $55,000 for a passenger vehicle. Okay. Credit for used EVs. There was no credit for a used EV up until January 1st of 2023. Now, 2023 and beyond, there are credits for used EVs. I don't know, a lot of people are going to get one, but hey, you know what? They're there now, so just in case. Battery component and mineral restrictions don't matter up until January 1st of 2023. After January 1st, 2023, the battery components and mineral restrictions, so like where they source the rare earth minerals from and where the components are manufactured for the batteries, that does matter now starting 2023, okay? Credits for a leased electric vehicle. No. There are no credits for leased electric vehicles, period, full stop. Doesn't matter when you got it, when you leased it, how much money you make, how much little money you make, whether it was a used lease, new lease, doesn't matter. There is no credit for leasing an EV ever. Has never been, and at least as far as I think, probably will never be. Transferring the credits. Oh, we forgot to talk about this too. Yeah, transferring the credit to the dealer as a down payment on the electric vehicle. That is possible in some instances only after 2024. Or sorry, in 2024. So it's not applicable, but in 2024, they're going to roll out a program where I think the dealer is going to get the credits and you can basically reduce the price or get a down payment as part of the credit. But that's between you and the dealer, and then the dealer has to deal with the government on all this. Other than that, the only other thing is for business use EVs, electric vehicles. There was never any income cap on the businesses up and until 2022, or the end of 2022, 2023. There is now an income cap on businesses as well, kind of like they did on individuals. All right, so if a business purchased an EV, I don't have those figures, but they're out there. And I wouldn't be surprised if they were similar to the individual caps, because most small businesses are small anyway. So, all right, last thing something I pulled out late as I was kind of planning on this video here, relates to the installation of a charger for your electric vehicle in your home. There were very, very paltry credits available prior to 2022 and 2023. Now you can get up to $1,000 or 30% of the cost of the charger. Okay, I know from just experience talking to certain people, the chargers are not super expensive. I mean, they have some of them. We're not talking about putting one of those like fast charging center stations like you see in public on your property. We're talking about like a wall mounted charger in your garage or side of your house or whatever it is with like a little cord or whatever. They're not super pricey. And I mean, I've seen them a few $1,000 or whatever it is, but it's a pretty generous credit when you kind of consider what's going on. So it's $1,000, 30% up to $1,000, 30% of the cost. So that's it. Again, this is a hot topic, and a lot of people are talking about it, and a lot of people are looking at all of this stuff and trying to figure out, whether they qualify and whatever. Talk to a tax professional. Consult the Department of Energy's website. They've got a great website out there. It is, oh God, what is the website? I can't remember, but I will try and post it down below. But there's a list of all of it. Let me see, is it afdc.energy.gov is where I think you can find the main page, and then I think if you can do a search in there for the Inflation Reduction Act, or you can just Google, which a lot of people do, list of cars that qualify for IRS EV credit, something like that, and it will come up. It's one of the first things that comes up, and it's something that I've used a lot when somebody asks me if their vehicle qualifies. So that's it for today. I hope you found this informative. A little bit longer of a video, but it's a lot to cover because it's really a law that kind of is three different laws, and three different laws that change from August to December to January and beyond. So that's it for today. Thank you for watching. If you like this kind of content, don't forget to hit that like button, subscribe, turn notifications on. This way you'll know when we post other tax and Lego videos. And have yourself a great day.